Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion, Carl Banks. This episode of Believe presented by FanDuel. And Carl, I don't know, there's been so many losses over the last bunch of years. I think yesterday might be one of the most frustrating, angry days that I can remember experiencing with the way the Giants just handed a game away to the New Orleans Saints yesterday. And I don't know, I'm upset. Like, this one bothered me more than the Washington season opener because at the end of the day, Washington was in the conference championship a year ago. They have Jaden Daniels. But this is a team that hadn't won a game, the Saints, since December of last year at the Giants. So you've lost to them twice in a 9-game span. They were winless. Now, we said on this podcast last week, be wary of the Saints because if you watch them on game tape, they play hard. They had played Buffalo hard, but that's not an excuse. This game just has me absolutely livid by what happened.
Bob, they are NFL players on every team. The difference in a lot of cases, and certainly Sunday, was will your good players show up and play? Will your average players do their jobs? Will your substitutes pay attention to detail? And the Giants did none of that. They did none of that. It's hard for any fan to look at this and think anything other than it's a shit show. And it is for several reasons. But when you watch this game, first two drives, they look magical. I mean, everything's going well. The offense is clicking, defense getting their 3 and outs, and you're like, okay, the Saints about ready to fold their tent. And then the lack of discipline, the lack of mental stamina, the lack of execution allowed a team to hang around that's got NFL players on it. Say what you want about Spencer Rattler. Say what you want about anybody on the other side of that. They got NFL players. Last I checked, Alvin Kamara was one of the better players in this league. They got some of the fastest receivers in this league. But you let them back in the game because of no attention to detail, lack of mental stamina, being undisciplined. It's just, and it goes on and on. And folks, the buck always stops with the head coach, right? It always does. And I can't argue with anybody about what went well and what didn't from a generalization standpoint. But I will say this. They're all in it together because they get paid. These players make millions of dollars. They have a hand in this too, right? They don't need nannies. When they take that check, they sign that contract, they got to do what the hell they're supposed to do. It's a results-oriented business. I root for this team, Bob. I root for these players. I root for these coaches. But they're all in it together. And when you give me these sound bites about, player accountability goes much further than anything the coaches could. Well, damn, hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable. Your best receiver, he didn't have a good day. He'll tell you that too. But now we got to spend for I don't know how long. The Giants wide receivers are ass. The Giants wide receivers are awful. They don't have a playmaker. Well, you know what? Y'all ain't done nothing to tell people any different. And because you go in and you commit 5 turnovers on 5 straight drives, make that make sense. You got rookies who love the class are making bad decisions, right? Um, Abdul Carter, mental stamina, mental endurance. Don't make mistakes at crucial times. Someone sent a message to me and says, "Oh, there it is. Javon Holland just took a bad angle and gave up a big run." Javon Holland was on a blitz. The run broke because the rookie took an inside move when he should not have been. Holland was where he was supposed to be. He left his feet to try to impact the play. But if your rookie doesn't take the inside move and just play the technique that's called for, it's a tackle at the line of scrimmage. These are things, and people will say, well, how come Shane Bourne ain't emphasizing that? You think they're not? You think they're not? I'm okay with anybody that has a problem with coaching because the buck always stops there. I'm coming from a place where they're all in it together. They're all responsible for this mess, right? If you think you got talent and you don't want to keep people keep saying you are a shit player, then prove it. Prove it by doing the little things because everybody in this league, folks, got average players. The difference is their average players are executing and you are not. It ain't a matter of whether or not you're being coached properly or not. That can be litigated down the line. What is your part? What is your job? Do your job, right? Do what they ask you to do. Somebody says, and I just want to say this to all of our fans out there. I don't have a problem having these discussions. Just give me the plays. I don't want to do the generalization thing anymore. Let's talk about plays that you saw that just really upset you. We can have that discussion. Someone, last week said Tyler Nubin couldn't cover. I said, okay. And then as soon as who's the received the 85 yarder? Who caught the 85 yarder?
Oh, Shaheed.
Shaheed. So Shaheed catches the 85 yarder and Nubin's chasing him. That person said, see, I told you he couldn't cover. Well, there's a couple things. He shouldn't be expected to cover the fastest guy on the field. That's not what safeties do. Okay, and then if you would notice, for the second week in a row, maybe third week, Shaheed runs down the field unobstructed. Now, if Nubin is playing from off, my guess is that linebacker who had nothing to do on that play sat up and watched him go by. He might as well have been a ticket taker because the guy jumped the turnstile and jumped right on top of your safety. They are emphasizing these things. It's just common sense, and I know that you got your issues with St. Shane Bourne, folks. But I'm telling you right now, if they got beat in Dallas with that, they are not running the same shit to watch it happen again against the fastest guy on the field. So when you got Shaheed running down on top of your safety, and you got a linebacker who's at 2 yards from the line of scrimmage with no work to do, my guess is that they say, you got to jam this guy so the safety will be in position to cover him. You know what happened? He sat there and stared at the quarterback. Shaheed is on top of the safety like oxygen. And no, Nubin's not winning that race, folks. This ain't a matter of his ability to cover or not. It's his inability to cover somebody with speed like that. There ain't no safeties in the league that's going to give a wide receiver a running start and cover him. But you have things in place in your defense to slow that receiver down, to give your safety a chance to play it, to disrupt the timing of the play. Again, I'm okay. If y'all don't like these coaches, great. You don't like these players, great. They're all in this shit together. They've created this mess. And I am not defending anything. I am saying everybody is accountable. Everybody is accountable. And if we want to have those conversations, pick a play and let's talk about them. I'm either going to help you make your point, or I'm going to give you some insight on why things broke down. Because they're not all perfect, but if you walked out of that game or you turned your TV off in disgust, it's because this team has taken you on a freaking 4-hour roller coaster ride. First half of the game, they could do no wrong. Second half of the game, you didn't even fucking recognize this team.
Carl, I have the coaches tape up, the all 22 and the high end zone. And Muasau just lets him run right by him. He doesn't stick his hands out, nothing. Nubin's 15 yards off the ball to start. He's starting to retreat. Shaheed's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. There's no way that could have possibly been the way it was caught up or taught, because there's no way Tyler Nubin in any way, shape, or form with Shaheed unimpeded in a straight line speed running right at him, where he can go to the middle or he can break outside. He broke outside. Nubin's got no shot on that play if you do not get hands on him. And that is a recurring theme here, Carl. You know, they did a pretty good job against the run in the game, correct?
Yep.
But they're playing off and they're playing soft, and you allowed a team that was not good on third down. They hit 7 of 15 third down attempts, Carl. And they were, I think they were 6 of 7. They had 1 3rd and 7, which they hit. And then they had 6 third downs of 3 or less yards, and they hit every one of them. And it was like, all right, we're not going to get beat deep. And you just keep letting them pick you apart. Like, they never get physical with anybody. And then when they do get physical,
it's a pass interference.
Tay Banks, you're slipping, he's slipping. I looked at it again. Why are you pulling him? You're both going
both
to
of
the
you
ground.
just go down. Right. And that's an interception. And again, we talk about you cannot even acknowledge anything good about what this defense is doing or any progress that they're doing, because it gets negated. Like, every week they've generated turnover worthy plays where actually turnovers happened, and it's negated, right? But let's just go back to this. There's Muasau. Lack of attention to detail. Let's just call it that. I know that the linebacker coaches are emphasizing this. I know that Shane Bourne's emphasizing this, because it's recurring every week. And it's the same guy. And it's the same guy. And again, there's a thing in this sport called mental endurance, folks. Meaning you got to have attention to detail at the toughest moments, or at the moments that it requires it. When you're tired, when it's helter-skelter, you get the call, you go over what your responsibilities are in your head. I know why he didn't jam him, because he didn't do the linebacker math. Shaheed was number 1. He was the number 1 receiver when they lined up. They motioned somebody outside of him, which made him the number 2 receiver. The linebacker is responsible for rerouting number 2. But the motion happened, and Muasau never even saw it. It happened right in his face. So that's not on coaching, because they teach it. And again, y'all can have whatever issues you want with this coaching staff. I'm saying they're in it together, and players have a responsibility and accountability to execute. Linebacker math, if you got number 2 and motions out and the wide receiver becomes number 2, don't let him jump the turnstile. So you talk about the
yeah, Carl, they motion. I just watched it. Shaheed's lined up in the slot, and they motion the tight end outside of him,
That makes him
which
the
is
number two.
which is Juwan Johnson, who's a
Correct.
threat in the pass game. So right there, the linebacker has got to take that other step, and he's got to deal with
He's
this
just
guy.
widen the number two and reroute him. But it happened in Dallas, right? And it continues to happen, and they continue to tell him that, right? Sometimes, folks, the guy who makes a lot of money, I don't give a fuck if he's drafted first round or free agent. You out there because they believe you can get it done and you've shown the aptitude to do it. Do it. You're hurting your team when you don't. And it's at the most crucial moments. You've got to have mental stamina. You've got to have mental endurance. You've got to have attention to detail when it matters most. Okay, so now you talk about the scheme that they played, and it was soft, and they gave up all these third downs. And I saw where Biz had talked about it too, and I said this was one of those pick your poison type games. What are you willing to concede in order to keep them from doing what they like to do? Friday, I posted that this team has great perimeter speed. They have their scheme is to get the ball on perimeters. You know, the motion in and out of the backfield, they like to get perimeter stuff. And if they can get you in a foot race on the edge, they're going to win that most times. So what I saw is a concerted effort to keep everything outside in. The Giants defense, if we just extract it, which we cannot, they were playing to keep New Orleans out of the end zone, and they were giving up field goals. And if they're trading field goals to Giants touchdowns, beautiful, right? You got yourself probably a double-digit victory because that's the way they schemed their defense. They were not going to let the perimeter people beat them. They were going to give up 5, 7s, 3s, 2s, but they weren't going to give up something outside and it just takes off on them. They weren't going to do that. Okay, so if we look at it just from that standpoint, great. But then the one time they play man coverage, fucking guy runs right up the seam for an 85-yarder because one guy didn't do his job. So if the 85-yarder was enough for them to open the game up, right? The Giants' plan was we're going to defend the perimeter. And if they can just settle for field goals, we're doing a decent job of executing where we thought we were most vulnerable, right? And then where you're most vulnerable and you call a play and one guy doesn't do his job and they get the one play. Okay, well, football is a complementary sport. If you don't get 5 turnovers, 85-yard fumble return, you're probably still okay. You're probably still okay with this defensive schematic. But it's not offense versus defense. It's New York Giants football. Everybody's got to do their job. And when one side of the ball is not going well, and then the other one decides to crap its pants too, this is what you get. You get an emotional roller coaster for your fans, and you embarrass yourself. You got rookies playing, you got rookies making mistakes. You're going to live with Jackson Dart making some bad decisions, right? But he can't try to dribble the football in the middle of a scramble. It looked like he wanted to dribble the ball and it just bounced out of his hands, right? Mistake. Okay. Bo Collins, they bring you up. Be a participant in the game and not a spectator. Understand the importance of running all of your routes. Don't stop your route. You stopping your route enable them, Kool-Aid, to get an interception. Finish the routes, right? I don't care if you're a free agent. I don't care where you were drafted. They brought you up because they thought you were competent, right? Go finish your routes. Yeah, It's a learning situation. I'd love for us to be having this conversation and saying they won and they got some stuff to clean up. It ain't that. This ain't that this week.
Right.
This is user error.
Yeah, well, Carl, it goes to a bigger issue. I was shocked that little Jordan Humphrey was not elevated from the practice squad. He and Dart had a good rapport in the preseason and in training camp. But look, the knock on this team going all the way back to the offseason, they didn't upgrade the receiver room. And they stayed with the hand that they had, and it's proven to be a hand that's not working. Right. And what I mean by that is this. I don't know if you watched Sunday Night Football this past week and some of the other highlights. Damn, you got to make some 50-50 plays. I'm watching guys. I'm watching Keon Coleman. I'm watching guys in the Sunday night game with defenders draped all over them, guys hanging off the edge of the sideline with DBs coming in trying to knock the ball out. Diggs is securing it. Like, you can't. So you go up 14-3. Now, if you were in the building, which we were in the building, there's a vibe, right? And had a chance to interact with a lot of Saints fans, and they love their Saints. They're blindly passionate. They were waiting to get beat yesterday.
Were the players.
Correct. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. In the building, the vibe in the building was, we love our Saints, go Saints. And they're going to root for them. But as the 14-3, they're just waiting for their asses to get kicked.
Yeah.
And they go on this long drive, but the Giants play appropriate enough defense. They have to settle for a 53-yard field goal, and it's 14-6. Okay. The Giants haven't been stopped yet. So now you dial up a play, and you're going to take a shot. 1st and 10 from your own 35. Darius Slayton's got to catch the ball. He drops the ball. Like, that's a deep post where, again, the Saints are waiting to get their butts kicked, and they're getting their butts kicked. And you got a chance to come right back at them and get yourself immediately in scoring position right after they kick the field goal and right after they have not been able to stop you. And you drop the ball. And they get one first down, and then the drive unravels, and then you're punting the ball away, and then one play, boom. So now the players are waiting to get beat, and suddenly they're in the game. So you get the ball back, you have a 3rd and 2 at midfield, and you run a flea flicker. All right, now, does Dart have to get it down the field quicker with more air? Check. Yes. Does Scatterbo? It's not college. It's the NFL. Everything happens faster. Maybe that softer pitch back to the quarterback in college, you get away with it. In the NFL, it's got to be quick. And Lord knows your team, your great Giant team, that 86 team with Parcells, you guys ran that play to perfection. But it was crisp. It's got to be quick. Yeah. It can't be a soft. Okay, 2 rookies. But at the end of the day, your receiver has to catch that ball. And I know there was some contact and everything else. But again, the body catching, waiting for the ball to come to the body as opposed to going after the ball, attacking it. He's your veteran-most player, along with Dexter Lawrence. Like, he's got to lead. He can't be part of the blob.
Correct.
Of the mediocrity.
Correct.
And so now you have that. Then you get the ball back, and then you fumble. And it's like, what the hell just happened here? And look, the last 2 weeks, the Giants, their longest play from scrimmage was Dart's 20-yard scramble. And last week, their longest pass was 18. All we heard about, last year, we got to get more chunk plays. We got to get more chunk plays. Now, there were some things that you and I were looking at, and I went back and I looked at it this morning. And there were times where there were some shots.
Yeah.
Dart was not trusting what he was seeing. Back very early in the second quarter, they did not even guard Jalen Hyatt. He ran right down the middle of the field. Yeah. The safeties were split, and he checked it down. Okay, that's a rookie making a second start, not trusting things.
And before the
Well, would the
conspiracies come
ball have
out,
been caught? Is the next question.
right? Well, you got to throw it in order to find that out. But this was not a matter of him not trusting Jalen Hyatt. This was him not trusting his reads. That's a rookie read. He took the safe read instead of taking the shot. But yeah, there was some missed opportunities there. And all of that being said, Bob, the opportunities that they did have, they did not make them. And that's the bad part about what this fan base is feeling right now. What I am feeling is that you had a chance to just put a team away. They just walked in there. They wanted to. This was one of those proverbial toe in the water games. They wanted to stick their big toe in the water. If the water was too cold, they were going to be like, okay, let's just get this over with. But Giants go out, first two drives, it looks easy. I mean, they're slicing and dicing. 21 personnel is got them in fits. They don't know whether they're going to block for a run or have to, cover for a pass. They got it going. Kafka has got it going. Then one mistake compounds another mistake, compounds another mistake. And next thing you know, you gave a team that had no hope. None. You had two drives. You were 100% in the red zone in terms of scoring touchdowns. That's a hell of an improvement from where they were the last 3 weeks. So they kind of got it figured out, but you would never know because the rest of the game, anytime they got close, they turned the ball over in plus territory.
Yeah, every turnover was in plus territory.
Yeah,
I've never seen that.
right. And folks, that's not a coaching thing. That's a player thing. I'm not saying to you, don't have your issues with the coach because the buck always stops there. My issue is when you get paid a lot of goddamn money, do your job. Just do your job. Be winners. Learn that the little things is what results in victory, not the big things. The big plays are great. Then you take care of the business with the little things to keep the team from having any chance of winning. You are not doing that as players. I know Darius Muasau is not a dumb kid. This is a thing where I call it mental endurance. Me and, when I was in Cleveland with Nick Saban, it was one of the things we always talked about. He always talked about with our defense, and I kind of emphasized that. And I said this to the Giants in training camp: don't let a bad play become a bad day, right? Meaning, stay in the moment, understand situational awareness. You're playing zone a lot of the game. I saw improvement from Bobby Okereke and those guys in the intermediate zone where they weren't just letting guys catch the ball and then breaking. They were close to guys. But then this one moment when you just do the linebacker math, here's motion, Shaheed's number 2. I got to get out there and jam this guy. This guy's 0 to 35 miles an hour, whatever the hell he runs, in the first 5 or 6 steps, and ain't no way a stationary safety is going to be able to do anything with that. And all you had to do is just jam him, get in his way. And we saw somebody was criticizing Jalen Hurts in the game that he overthrew Brown. You know why he overthrew Brown? Because the timing was off. They had 3 guys that were in the middle of his route. He had to avoid 3 different guys. And by the time he cleared those guys, the first guy was a linebacker who went in to jam him, reroute, right? Then he got to the next level and somebody else was there and he had to try to take a double move. And Hurts throws the ball out there. He can't even get back into his acceleration to get it. That's what that's designed for. That is what Darius Muasau should have been doing on that play. Now, I don't know what the call was, but I can tell you how it works. I can look at it because I've played it 1,000 times. And if that was not his responsibility, shame on them for having a scheme that would allow a guy to run 100 miles an hour at a free safety. or at a strong safety, which I don't think they do that in this league.
Yeah, Carl. I mean, I this game, even in the fourth quarter, right? You're only down 5 points and Scadaboo fumbles, but it goes back to like I know it's user error, but let me ask you this, Carl, with the Giant fan out there right now that has sat through year after year after year, with the exception of 22 and the exception of the playoff appearance in 16. You see what's happening here and you watch it and you say, if you're a fan, it's like, well, wait a second. Yes, it's user error. You're right, Carl. You can't Jackson Dart cannot fumble that ball without being contacted. Scadaboo has to secure it. But we talk about not making any 50-50 plays, even like Jalen Hyatt, who, again, didn't have a catch. So late in the game, right, they throw him a go ball and there's hand fighting. But he does get his hands free, and then he has the ball bounce off his chest. Like,
unacceptable.
They don't have guys that win the 50-50 plays at the receiver position. And this has been a theme now for a couple of years. And a fan sitting there saying, well, why are we going with the same cast? Like,
right.
And the other thing is what, like what Dable has always said to us is in this league, you have to be able to hit some big plays. When your longest play from scrimmage is your quarterback scrambling for 20, and the week before your longest pass was 18, it catches up to you. Mm-hmm. And even on that, the Scadaboo fumble, right? I mean, how many plays in the drive did they have? It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That was like the 12th play of the drive. They cannot get any chunk plays. And I don't want to hear Neighbors being hurt, because that's not an excuse, okay? Because I watched the 49ers with half their best skill position guys outside of Christian McCaffrey all hurt. Kittle hasn't played since the first quarter of week 1. Their best receivers are out. They're playing with a backup quarterback, yet they make plays. This Giants team, it has been a problem with this team for years now. They have wide receivers that, if it's perfect, they can make the play. But if there's adversity within making the play, they usually rarely come up with the 50-50 balls. And all you had to do was watch Sunday Night Football and some of the games this weekend. And the teams that win, they got guys that make plays in traffic.
And so therein lies the dilemma. Is it ability or inability? Right? I would like to think that they have ability, because stars are born every week in this league. Just like you said, the 49ers, they got guys stepping up, right? Do you have the ability to make those types of plays, Darius Slayton? Yeah, but you show an inability to do it. So that's up to you. Last week, anyway, I mean, this past week, anyway, you didn't come up with those. You washed the stink off, but y'all got to change the narrative, because, like you so accurately pointed out, if they're on target, if they're, easy catches, they make them. Contested catches, you want the other guy, or you allow the other guy to do it. The other team, like, you got to compete like hell. That's your job. You get paid to catch. Not all of them are going to be easy. Case in point, the Theo Johnson touchdown in the end zone. That ball was thrown slightly behind him. He had to reach over his shoulder to grab that football. There was a defender there,
and he tried to
knock that out. He secured that ball, brought it in, and the defender was right there on the ball. He made a contested catch. Smart throw. It wasn't pinpoint, right? But we don't know the difference, because the receiver, Theo Johnson, made the catch, because it was within his ability to make a contested catch, right? Now, if the ball gets knocked out, we're probably here saying, well, Dart could have put it in different plays, blah, 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 and it would have been one of those, whose fault is it, right? Phil Johnson removed all doubt. It's there for me. I'm going to come up with this football and I'm going to secure a touchdown. It's got to become important to you, folks. Simple as that. Um, I think there's still something to be accomplished this year. I don't think as they walk into the rest of this season, the rest of the schedule, starting with Thursday, that they should feel like they can't win. They put enough stuff on film where teams are going to have to prepare for you. Now, whether you execute and whether you have the mental stamina to follow through for a whole game, because teams will not back down. You're going to have to win your games against good teams. But if you got the mental stamina, there's some opportunities on this schedule. And I think it starts on Thursday. You know, people saying, the way this team played, there's no way. You're probably right. But if they play different, then there is a way. That's up to them, though. That's completely up to them. It's time for your young players to understand the moment, right? You'll live with, Scatterable runs into the back of his guy. Okay, that's a fumble. Quarterback loses the ball in space. It's a fumble, right? If they didn't all occur five consecutive times, we're probably not having this level of discussion. But now it's time to grow up, right? Bo Collins, I don't know if they're going to trust you anymore because you just didn't do your job. But if they do, put you back out there because you got what you got now.
Right. But
right?
But Carl, I look at this as like you got to, at this point, you have to have zero tolerance.
Of course.
Right?
But because here's your question. Here's my question. You can have zero tolerance and you're going to rotate the same roster. You're going to bench one guy, put another guy in. The guy you're playing is your best option. That's why he's out there. So you can have zero tolerance, and the coach can berate, and I'm sure he does. But, these guys who talk about player accountability is more important than anything the coach could say. But then y'all better start holding each other accountable because this doesn't look like player accountability. This looks like who can contribute to the next mistake, not someone who says no more mistakes, goddammit. Let's not let this team hang around and beat us, right? That's what player accountability is like. That's what I hear on today's NFL sidelines with successful teams. That's what I've heard when I play, right? You get one or two of these little mistakes, you're like, okay, goddammit, no more. No more. We're not letting them back in the game. Not everybody patting each other on the head saying, okay, we'll get them next time. And then next time, in the next 4 times, it's a different guy committing a different turnover. That's not player accountability. So grown men being coached, you can say, hey, the coaches got to have zero tolerance. They can. But you got what you got right now.
Right.
You got what you got.
But then next man up, elevate somebody from the practice squad. Somebody
they just did that with Bo Collins.
No, he was on the active.
He's elevated into the lineup, into playing time.
So, listen, I'm going to give you the Victor Cruz story because it's been romanticized, and obviously Victor became a fabulous player. He had the preseason game against the Jets. He wound up, that was in 2010. He got hurt. Mm-hmm. Victor Cruz did not have a great training camp in 2011. And they were, Coughlin was not trusting him. And then in week 1 in Washington on a 3rd down play, early in the game, he dropped the ball, which he had done quite often in preseason of 2011. And the trust factor was not that high, to the point that they went out and they signed Brandon Stokely, the former Indianapolis Colt, to basically take his job out of the slot on 3rd downs. And Brandon Stokely suffered a groin injury that forced Victor Cruz back in the lineup against Philadelphia to get another chance, and the rest, as they say, is history. He took
Mm-hmm.
advantage of that, but he was like on thin ice at that point, to the point where they
Mm-hmm.
brought Brandon Stokely in. And they need to, like, these, if you got an opportunity, it doesn't work, we'll sign
Yeah,
somebody else off the
what
practice
else you
squad.
have to lose, right? You have nothing else
No,
to
you
lose.
don't.
If you're putting out there players that are playing like trash, and you're saying this is your shot, well, it ain't working, so let's go with the next one. Why have the patience, right?
It's too late to have patience
Right.
now.
It's these are grown men who get paid money. Your job is to perform. Go out there and perform. And listen, we know everything starts and stops with the head coach and the coordinators, right? Players have responsibility as well. I can, again, I'm welcoming any type of dialogue from folks other than just angry at me because, right? If you want to talk about a particular player who on a particular play, let's talk about it, right? Because I'm going to help you understand and either reinforce your opinion or not. But we all saw what we saw. There's a cause and effect to it all. Let's have a better discussion on why it happened the way it did, just like what we just talked about with Tyler Nugent, right? There's no way they called a defense that would allow the fastest man on the field to run on top of a safety. And it wasn't great schematics either. It was a basic um, receiver in tight, knowing that, okay, if he's number one is that tight, he's either running a crossing route or somebody's about to motion out and make him the slot. They motioned out, made him a slot. You know right away, I got to get out here and defend this.
And then you guess what Philly's going to do?
Same
And guess
thing.
what Denver's going to do?
Same
And
thing.
guess what? They're going to do the same thing until you
Yeah.
prove you could execute it better.
It's an easy adjustment, man.
Listen, just in wrapping up, look, we've gone through this over the years and different regimes. Like, fans in the media have been uneasy about this receiving core from the spring. Like, why did you just bring all the same people back? Why did you re-sign Slayton? Like, why are all the same people back? And it's a legitimate question to ask from a fan, from a media standpoint. Now, the players and the stat, they have an opportunity to prove everybody wrong. But so far, they're not doing it. So something's going to have to change, and guys are going to have to make some plays, because you can't win in this league going 12 and 14 plays on every drive and having your longest play from scrimmage this week 20 yards on a quarterback scramble, and last week your longest pass play was 18 yards.
Yeah.
Like, you're not getting away with it in the NFL. If you don't make some contested catches in traffic along the boundary with people hanging on you and you secure that football, it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah. Well, listen, Bob, we've seen what we've seen. Now, if these guys are worth anything and they believe in themselves, then we'll see a change. If not, the saga continues. I think there's a lot to be achieved here this season, and I think they can. But it's up to them. It's up to them. You can look at where they improved, and then you can look at where they went backwards, right? Red zone efficiency was one of those deals where they got to turn field goals into touchdown. They put bang, bang, back to back, right? Defense playing to run better until they did it. Holding teams to field goals instead of touchdowns. That's a winning formula when the other team is playing complementary football. But when they don't, you can't afford to give up a touchdown. And so you better have some mental endurance. You go a whole game, 3 quarters, offensive line, you're decent, better than decent. Then next thing you know, they got back-to-back-to-back penalties. And I just literally commented on air, boy, they've been pretty good this week with the procedural penalties. They didn't have any. Next thing you know, they were just 3 in a row. That's not winning. That's a lack of mental endurance, folks. You have no mental stamina. You've got to be at your best when it's needed, not when it's not.
The other thing, Carl, I just am wrapping this up. They need last year's version of Tyrone Tracy back in the lineup badly.
Mm-hmm.
Badly. Look, Scatterboo is giving you everything he's got, and everybody feeds off his energy and his toughness or whatever. But you also you need Tyrone Tracy and what he gave you last year. You need something. Now, I'm not saying he's Barry Sanders, but look, Devin Singletary has a role. And obviously he's very good in pass protection. He's a smart player. But just watching the game yesterday, like there were a couple of runs, Carl, that were blocked pretty good that were 3 that could have been 12.
Sure.
And look, Father Time is undefeated, and he's a good player. He's a good teammate. He's a leader in the running back room, but they need a little bit more explosion out of that.
They need power
spot.
and explosion. He still got the quickness. He can still see it. And he can get there, but he can't explode through it. And these other guys can carry guys an extra 3 or 4 yards. That's not him.
Right, and they need that'll take a little bit of the pressure off things as well. Like where you can, when you got him creased, you got to get 12 there. You can't get 3, like, because there were a couple of.
Here's the other thing too, Bob, and I know we're going to wrap this, but that's also a tribute to the offensive line. They're creating holes. Their guys are not getting hit in the backfield, so there's some things there, but they can't get out of their own way so that everybody can see how it can all come together or how it should all come together.
Right. And I listen, I've been surprised. I got to be honest with you, the last 2 weeks, I was surprised that they went into the game with 2 backs and that Turbo Miller didn't get an opportunity or didn't get a jersey for the game. I thought maybe based on what we saw in the preseason, at least there's the opportunity for a more explosive play because of his speed. They chose to not go that route. They chose to not elevate little Jordan Humphrey. But they're going to have to revisit everything at this point because Slayton left the game with a hamstring. It's a short week. So you're going to need another hand on deck. And we'll get into the preview in a couple, well, today's Monday, probably Wednesday. But they got to shake the apple cart because it got late very early. I mean, we're 1-4 through the first 5 games of the season. And you're going to play the Super Bowl champion twice in your next 3 games. And by the way, the team that just beat the Super Bowl champions, you got to go to their place. Mm-hmm. So it's going to snowball. That's why yesterday's game, the Cowboy fiasco, those were the stabilizing game. You stole one against the Chargers. And again, sometimes you got to make plays above the X's and O's because that's the way you win in this league. Everybody's too good.
Right. And so, you got Philadelphia who, for whatever they are, they're winners. They're looking for that signature get right game. They've been, kind of un-Philly-like in all of their victories, but they're winning because they know how to win and they do the winning things, right? They're looking for their signature get right so that they, now they can hit all gears heading into the second quarter of the season. The Giants can have a say in that, right? There are still some things that, look, it's going to take a behemoth effort to defeat Philadelphia, but they have some things that they're not doing as good as they used to. But are you good enough to exploit those is what the question is. And then for them, they're looking at this game is probably the one. Hey, look, we've been struggling a little bit. Saquon's only averaging 3.2. Let's get on track here. This is our get right. Are you going to be the get right doormat? Or are you going to fight? Are you going to show some pride? Let's see what happens.
All right, we'll be back today's Monday. We'll be back in 2 days for a little preview of the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. Carl, how do we like to end this thing?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Believe in Giants. Presented by FanDuel.